Hello, Dr. Aidre Grant, author
Hi, Jill.
and
How are you?
academic. I'm good. How are things in Lismore today?
Well, actually, I'm a bit cold. The weather's changed, and it's just feeling a bit like I need a wee blankie or something.
Yes, I was given this lovely little light Nepalese pashmina end of last year. This is the first time I've been able to put it on. It's very
Yeah.
cozy.
Well, have a look at this. I've got my possum and pawa cardigan on.
So one thing that Aidre and I have in common is we're both from Aotearoa, we're both Kiwis, and I was trying to think back to when I first met you, and I think it was either the first or second NHA International Conference on the Collaroy Plateau at the very
Oh my Lord! It was at
Salvation Army
Collaroy.
camp. Yeah. So early 90s, and it was always nice meeting another Kiwi.
Yeah.
And so back then you were at Nature Care College. Is that right?
Yeah, I think I was. I was the director of studies there for quite a long time, about 9 years. Yeah.
And these days, how would you describe your job?
These days, well, life is a long and tortuous path, and I ended up moving up north to Lismore, and I did a PhD on naturopathic education, on holistic elements of naturopathic education, specifically the relationship between spirituality and health. And then I did a lot of casual work at the uni, and I ended up in the Centre for Teaching and Learning. So my day job is working in the centre, where I help people sort their programs out, and I'm always trying to inject meaning into it. I just had an email from a teacher in engineering who was asking about how to engage students online, and I told him the obvious things to do, but then I couldn't help myself. I had to say the most important thing for a student to learn, or for anybody really, is that they feel valued, that they feel that it's a meaningful connection, and that they have value in the exchange. It's not just a handing over of information. And I never know how anyone feels about me saying that, but I say it just the same. So I gave it to the engineers today. Just remember to value your students, and also to value yourself.
Do you want to be a Jacinda or a ScoMo in this?
Indeed.
in this relationship? So you mentioned your thesis, which was your PhD was about 10 years ago that I think it was.
Yes, it was.
Submitted. And I was just thinking that in the times that we're in, these very interesting COVID times, what do you have any thoughts on how in our current culture, this unprecedented time is impacting spirit and spirituality?
Well, I've been thinking about it a lot, because the huge emphasis has been on wash your hands, keep clean, stay home, and it's obviously the first place has been physical well-being, and then the emphasis shifts to kind of mental or emotional well-being, because people are lonely or they feel isolated and solitude. But underneath it all is people's spiritual well-being, their sense of faith and optimism and willingness and courage and so forth. And that is as important as anything else, really. And I've been thinking about it in terms of natural medicine, because it's also easy for natural medicine practitioners to diagnose and prescribe supplements and diet and exercise, and then, make sure you've got a friend or support group, but to actually forget that people's spiritual well-being, their spiritual and or religious beliefs, are just as important as any other thing. And if you have any doubts about that, you just have to go to the literature. There are thousands of papers about it in the literature, and there have been really good studies done about it as well in very esteemed journals. So it's not something off to the side. It's actually central to who everybody is. It's central. We have a kind of a need in this culture here to kind of play it down, or play it small, or to feel even almost a bit sheepish or quiet about it. But in fact, no, it's there, it's out and proud. So it's very important that you can't prescribe or fix or mend it, but you can acknowledge it. and you can work with people's realities and open the space so that they feel confident, safe, comfortable to talk about the things that matter to them and which have direct impact on their health, which can be as simple as dietary requirements. You go.
So before we talk about the practitioner's response, any thoughts about, so, you know, you're sitting at home and watching this on YouTube or Facebook and thinking, well, how do I know if I'm disconnected from spirit right now? What are some kind of symptoms?
Well, it's here we enter the interesting kind of language. People have a kind of luminosity. They have you speak, I mean, in other words, a prana and chi, but they have a kind of feel about them, a kind of glow, some kind of intangible, but you know it when you see it, kind of luminous feeling about them. So when someone's glowing, you say you're glowing, you're really healthy. But when you're flat, you know you're flat. And often you'll act in a flat way. You'll wear drab clothes and you'll drag your feet and you'll play small. Yeah. When you're feeling jolly and luminous and nourished, you interact with the world quite differently. So if you feel your spirit becoming deflated and small, it's a signal to change. Well, the easiest thing is to just change the frame, just get off the butt, really. Go outside, stand on the grass and get some of nature's energy into you. You don't have to do anything other. Walking barefoot on the grass, simple. You know?
I suppose as an atheist, I always feel that we sometimes don't talk about our spirituality, but, you know, obviously you don't necessarily have to have a faith to have a spiritual connection with nature and animals and other beings.
Well, that's called pantheism.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's so and many people ascribe to that. They'll go, oh, I don't believe in God, but they have to bushwalk. They have to get out. They have to surf. People who surf, they say they're doing it for exercise, but there's a whole spiritual experience out there on the waves that you've seen people getting really cranky because they've had it denied to them, and they need that thing that feeds their spirit, that plumps it up. Yeah.
And I know, you know, a lot of your academic work has been about, you know, natural medicine students and practitioners and broaching the need to address spirituality in holistic consultations.
Yeah.
You got any words of advice for, say, a naturopath who hasn't had any guidance about how to approach that within a consultation?
Yeah, it's very neglected in education and training. I have taught it at the uni and at...
So at the uni, Southern Cross Uni? Yeah.
Yeah, but honestly, I get an hour in a 4-year course.
Wow.
You know what I mean? It's played down there too. And in naturopathic programs, not much different. They say they do address it, but things may have changed, but my impression has been that the professional identity has forced many people to lock on hard to evidence-based medicine, and at the exclusion of those other aspects which are critical to health. I was talking to a naturopath this week who teaches medical astrology, and she was saying how she's spent years, even though it's important to her, kind of not really, just it's over there, that's what I do. And then this year she's going to go, no, this is what I do. I see this as a valid part of my treating and my understanding. And for God's sake, Culpeper had gardens laid out by star signs, so this is not new. But for people who think about bringing it into their practice, I've written about it. It needs thought, because you need to be comfortable in yourself with where you are and what your beliefs are, and a lot of it's about listening and opening the space and letting people have their space. So, for example, if you are, treating someone who says, I'll get the star signs wrong here, but that because, they're in Aries, they've got weak ankles. Someone's going to correct me on that, but you know what I mean?
I think it's Taurians and ankles, but I could be wrong.
Taurians, thanks, okay. But anyway, I'm a Taurian and I've got weak ankles, and you think astrology is a load of hogwash.
Yeah.
You have to shut up.
Yeah.
You just go,
Mm.
But it does a clue into how a person constructs themselves and how they think about things and how they're going to listen and how they're going to take things on. You may have had this too. I remember teaching at Nature Care some years ago, and as you know, when you teach, you get waves of types of students. Like you get waves of, in practice, you'll get all the hypoglycemics coming in a clump or something like that. And I had a year when I got the yoga girls come, and it was summer, and they were all thin and swathed in pashminas, and they were cold, and I would bet they weren't menstruating because they ate these incredibly restricted diets that they thought that they believed put them on a spiritual path.
That's actually not always cloaked in spiritualism, but it's a very, very common thing, particularly if you think in the current day of Instagram influencers. Anything to do with natural medicine is what I call the tall blonde bendy girls.
And I call it the swishy ponytails.
Yeah, but it's and I don't want to denigrate anyone who identifies as that, but what I'm saying is that it portrays an aspect of health that's, or often it's something that might be cloaked in spirituality, as yoga is a spiritual practice, but really is used as part of a regime to hate your body, to deny your body nourishment or to really restrict what you're eating. And if you weren't kind of born looking that way, you're short and stumpy, you're really working hard against type to fit in with that very popular image. And unfortunately, that is an image of naturopathy now, which is quite alarming. But that's a little tangent I didn't mean to get on.
Oh, no, I've got another little tangent. My daughter teaches pole dancing, and I have been to her pole classes, and everybody, all shapes and sizes, all ages, gets on the pole, and it's all women classes. They're fantastic because they're about strength and body confidence, and there's the kind of the regular pretty girls, but there's also just everybody. And in terms, I had to shift my view on it. I was thinking, pole dancing, the sexualization of young girls, blah blah. But then I saw who turned up, and I thought, it's just women wanting to claim their body and their strength. So that was interesting. So. But yeah, people's faith and self-belief, they're all in a jumble together, really.
And that journey as a new practitioner, when you don't really, it's not just becoming aware of what you don't know clinically, but it's also how much of me can I bring to the consultation, is quite a long and often painful process for some practitioners. I mean, when I talk about authenticity in practice, I kind of believe, I look back onto who I was as a brand new practitioner and who I thought I had to be, and I thought I had to wear kind of like a country road, suit and pants and that sort of stuff, which was so not me. And very quick, it took a couple of years, but to realize that I can be me and I can be present. And I suppose what's more important to me than as the aesthetics is learning how to hold the space for our clients. And we have become, over the years, I would also say, in an increasingly non-faith-based or non-spiritual culture, we've kind of become the confessors. That, we've replaced the pulpit for some with their naturopath or health practitioner, or the type of practitioner who gives their client a lot of time within a consultation to confess. To say, I've never said this to anyone before. Yeah. You also wrote another paper talking about the virtues.
Yes, I did. I wrote that with Sandra Grace, who's one of the professors. She used to run Endeavour College, actually. And, she's a professor here at the uni. We wrote that together because I think about education a lot, and it's not enough to be technically competent. That's great. You need to be technically competent.
Yes.
That's only one part of it. And I wanted to write about those virtues that are around trust and faith and honor and respect and judgment and developing your wisdom and your humility. One of the least
Yeah.
available. I mean, how often do we know someone who's truly humble past the Dalai Lama, really? I don't know. But I wanted to discuss the importance of them in education. You can't actually teach them, really. You can wake up people to them, and you can give exercises and role plays and case studies where people learn about them. But those important humanists aspects of becoming a wise healer are learned, but they can be shaped by your education. So a good teacher shows you the path, and then you walk it, and then you have the experience. They don't do it for you. They put it in front of you and show you, and they walk alongside you as well. Yeah. So I'm always big on these subtle but important, really vital aspects. I had a paper published this week about how the most effective online teaching tool is kindness, and that went right around the joint. It's still being passed on. I was like, yeah, good, remember that, because we get caught up in the technicalities. But people's self-belief, their overt or hidden beliefs, their faith occupy a huge landscape, huge internal landscape, and shape the way they listen to you and shape the way they take on board what you're saying. And so they need to be built into any education program, all really. I mean, they teach them in primary schools and secondary schools, but in being a healer, it's because healing is rich and rewarding and challenging in equal measure. You will get challenged. You'll get the thing that you want to avoid will turn up at your office. If you don't like certain people, they'll knock on your door, and they'll come again and again and again until you drop whatever it is that you've got against someone who does something that has got some aspect that you don't like. Or you learn how to manage.
It's often mirror, isn't it? There's an aspect of yourself or someone close to you that you can see mirrored in that person's behaviour. And for years it was, for me, it was about anxious clients who, you think you've got the message across, and then they're standing at the door, and then I've just got one more question. And, it took me years to go, that's my anxiety being mirrored. Yes, I'm the one who will always turn up to a consultation with someone 10 minutes early and be there and be ready and kind of, be wound up by the time I come in. And it's just like, so part of that process is all, we are all the wounded healers, and we are here to heal ourselves. And one small aspect of that therapeutic relationship can be that we can learn things about ourselves. It's always interesting how much of yourself to leave out of the consultation room. Someone's paying you usually a lot of money for your time, and you're not there to share your autobiography.
No.
But, just to be aware that, usually if a type is annoying you, it's usually because it's something in you, or because it's they remind you of someone.
Sadly.
They're innocent in this. They're just here to teach us a lesson. For us.
Yes. So how much do you bring to a consultation? You bring your warmth and your friendliness, but you're not familiar. You're friendly but not familiar. That's a good distinction. And your professionalism, and it's not about you. Even though we've just said it's about you, it's actually not about you. That stuff you learn, that's for you. That's your business to do. Right. It's all about them, and that's what the space is for.
I think the other beautiful things that I've found can happen in consultations, hopefully, is that we're given an opportunity as practitioners to be present. And I actually think that's, of all the interactions in my daily life, whether it's face-to-face or via screen, I'm the most present and the most undistracted by other things when I'm in a consultation. That it's like, and it's one of those really rare times in our lives that we are not rare, but in daily life, this is actually in professional life. I am here for that person, and I want to give them 100% of my concentration and presence as I can. Yeah,
presence is key to everything. Communication, trust, and presence. They all sit right. They're the underpinnings of establishing any relationship, and the therapeutic relationship as well.
Well, Aidre, I could talk to you all day, and maybe we'll come back and talk more, because there was a few other things I wanted to talk about, but I've just kind of looked at how long this is going on for. I am just going to pause this recording and say goodbye to you. So thank you so much, Aidre.